From the moment I stepped into Greystone Corp, the polished floors and open office layout filled me with a sense of ambition. I had dreams of climbing the corporate ladder, of becoming someone that mattered. But soon, those dreams were overshadowed by a cold, unwelcome reality. My colleagues, who I thought would be allies, turned hostile. I remember the first comment that stung. "Do you really think you belong here?" It came from Tara, one of the senior analysts, her voice dripping with condescension. Days turned into weeks of relentless bullying. They whispered behind my back, rolled their eyes during meetings, and sabotaged my projects. I felt like a ghost, invisible and unheard. Desperation clawed at my chest, driving me to send email after email to HR, pleading for intervention. But to my disbelief, my cries for help fell into an abyss of silence. I meticulously documented everything. Every insult, every slip of paper tossed aside, every ignored email. My digital diary of suffering. But just when I thought I would crumble, a surge of defiance sparked within me. One fateful day, fueled by the toxic atmosphere, I summoned the courage I didn't know I had. I hit reply all on a company-wide email. "This is what I've endured," I typed, my fingers trembling yet resolute. "And if things don't change, I'm prepared to take legal action." The chaos that erupted afterwards was unlike anything I could have anticipated. My inbox exploded. Colleagues either rallied in support or condemned me for my outburst. My heart raced as I read each response, a mix of validation and aggression. But then, in the thick of it all, an unexpected message arrived from a powerful attorney offering his services. "Let's talk about how to tackle this," he wrote. The weight of the world seemed to lift slightly. I was no longer merely a victim. I had just become the catalyst for something bigger. As I began to navigate this new battleground of hidden alliances and shocking betrayals, I couldn't help but wonder, what dark secret lay beneath the surface of Greystone Corp? Before we continue with these mind-blowing developments, a quick reminder for those following our story. YouTube has been known to remove subscriptions without notice, so check if you're still subscribed and give us a like to support the channel. Now, back to the storm brewing inside Greystone. The days that followed my bold email were a whirlwind of confusion and tension. I can still feel that electric buzz in the office, as if a storm had swept in, shifting the atmosphere entirely. Colleagues peeked at me more than usual, whispering in clusters. Some came forward, sidling up to me with hesitant smiles, while others shot daggers from across the break room. It was a mix of fear and excitement, but deep down, I felt a spark of empowerment igniting within me. It was lunch when I first encountered David, a quiet programmer who had always kept to himself. He approached me, his eyes darting nervously. "I've seen what they've done to you," he said in a low voice. "You're not alone. I can help." My pulse quickened. A lifeline? I didn't respond immediately, fearful of further exposure. As I dove deeper into this unexpected alliance, I found out that David had been documenting similar experiences: bullying, intimidation, and the same neglect from HR. Together, we formed a shadowy alliance, meeting in quiet corners, sharing emails, and plotting our next steps. I felt strength in our shared silence, and the hidden camaraderie forged a connection that gave me hope. Then came the day I received an email that shook me to my core. An anonymous tip about a major compliance violation within Greystone Corp. My heart raced. This could be it. Was this the dark secret that loomed over the company? But who was behind it? I knew I had to tread carefully. The stakes were higher than ever. I could feel the oppressive weight of corporate silence closing in, but I held on to the knowledge that I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was part of something that could lead to real change. So, what would happen when I decided to act on this new discovery? Brace yourself, because the storm was just beginning. and we were about to pull back the curtain on Greystone's facade. Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning of a revelation that could change everything. The moment I laid eyes on that anonymous tip, I felt a mixture of dread and exhilaration. A compliance violation? Surely this wasn't just a rumor floating around the office. My heart pounded as I opened the email again, reading and rereading the details that hinted at a deeper layer of corruption within Greystone Corp. It mentioned falsified reports, a cover-up so scandalous it could rock the company to its core. But who was brave enough to leak this? David and I huddled together in the back of a dimly lit cafe, the buzz of conversations around us fading into the background. "This could be our way in," he whispered, excitement dancing in his eyes. I nodded, my mind racing. If it was true, we could expose a dark underbelly everyone had been ignoring. But how to approach it without putting ourselves in the crosshairs? The next few days saw us drawing up a plan, meticulously weighing our options. Every time I heard footsteps behind me at the office or a hushed conversation would send my heart racing, tightening my throat. Paranoia lurked around every corner. I remember the tense lunch break spent watching Tara and her clique assemble like vultures, their laughter suddenly grating against my nerves. Then came the day when a familiar face approached our table. It was Maria, the head of IT, and I had always regarded her with equal parts admiration and caution. "I know what you're doing," she blurted out, my stomach plummeting. "I want in." My throat went dry as I exchanged wary glances with David. What did she know? Was she friend or foe? "Tread carefully," she continued, eyes narrowing. "There's more than you think at play." Just as I thought we were gaining momentum, a new layer of danger folded into our plans. What had we stumbled upon? Could we really go after Greystone's secrets, or would we end up tangled in a web of corporate ruin? I had come this far, but did we have the strength to face what lay ahead? The tension lay thick in the air. This precarious alliance felt like a ticking time bomb ready to explode. Stay with me as we unveil the shocking twist that could shatter everything we thought we knew about Greystone Corp. The real battle was only just beginning, and I had a feeling the revelations would turn my world upside down. Once again. It was a tense afternoon when I first met Maria in that dimly lit cafe, her aura commanding yet steeped in secrecy. "I know what you're doing," she said, her voice low, leaving me unsure if she was a potential ally or just another wolf in sheep's clothing. I hesitated, my mind racing. "What do you mean?" I asked, feigning ignorance while every nerve in my body screamed for clarity. She leaned in closer, her eyes scanning the room before settling back on me. "I've been watching you. And David. You think you're the only ones catching wind of what's happening at Greystone." It felt like both a threat and an invitation wrapped into one. "Listen, Maria, if you know something, we need to come clean. The stakes are high." "No?" I glanced at David, who looked equally bewildered beside me. His brow furrowed, though I could see a flicker of hope hidden beneath his discomfort. Maria sighed, the weight of her intentions unspooling slowly. "I've been gathering intel for months. They think it's all smooth sailing. But there's a lot more beneath the surface. You want to expose them? I want to help." As we exchanged information, my heart raced with possibilities. What if Maria was right? What if exposing the compliance violations wasn't just attainable, but also the beginning of a greater reckoning at Greystone? But along with that spark of hope came a growing trepidation. How deep was this corruption, and who was really pulling the strings? That evening as I drove home, I replayed the conversation in my head. The shadows seemed to hover closer, the thrill of the unknown both invigorating and terrifying. I had stepped into a world where whispers could change the trajectory of lives, not just my own. Amid the confusion and fear, excitement surged through my veins. This was the tipping point. Days turned into a blur of covert meetings, meetings, late-night strategizing over half-finished cups of coffee, and the constant hum of anxiety. David and I pored over documents, piecing together the puzzle of Greystone's dark underbelly. With each piece of information, we felt less like passive victims and more like unwitting sleuths in a corporate thriller. But with each shared secret, the walls seemed to close in tighter. My colleagues were skittish around me, half expecting to see me explode into a scandal at any moment. The break room was a battlefield of whispers. Tara and her crew were openly hostile, those glares burning with disdain, as if I had personally betrayed them. Suddenly, tiny interactions became loaded. A cloud of suspicion hung in the air. Just when I thought our attempts to gather evidence felt futile, a pivotal event occurred. It was a routine fire drill that sent my heart racing. I had planned to participate ignorantly, but as everyone poured into the parking lot, I overheard Tara speaking in hushed tones with a suit-clad man from upper management. They stood just out of sight, but I couldn't shake the feeling they were discussing something far more sinister than emergency protocols. What had they done? My heart raced as I strained to catch their words. "It has to stay under control," Tara insisted, her demeanor icy. "If anyone finds out about the reports..." My pulse pounded in my ears. Reports? Was this what we were after? I couldn't help but feel the weight of what I had stumbled into. Coupled with the threats that loomed over my discoveries, I knew I had to act decisively. There was a narrative here, one that could change everything. That evening, I gathered David and Maria, urgency igniting my words. "We need to dig deeper. If they're willing to discuss it in the open, they have something to hide," I said, my voice barely a whisper in the dark cafe, adrenaline coursing through my veins. This felt dangerous, but the risk was exhilarating. We strategized late into the night, our resolve hardening. Using my connections, those lacy fragments of hope and courage, I began collecting everything I could find. Emails, reports, incidents. I would gather it all, mapping out a compelling narrative to confront HR armed with undeniable evidence. Each detail felt like a piece of the puzzle falling into place, revealing the truth hidden beneath layers of deceit. As we prepared for the confrontations ahead, that familiar knot in my stomach twisted tighter. Could I really do this? Facing the towering figures of Greystone with truth as my weapon felt like preparing to face a monster with a slingshot. But I knew that if I hid in fear, I would still be a victim. I was ready to fight. Days passed and the day of reckoning drew closer. We moved with a renewed sense of purpose, guiding our paths with caution. But with that come a price, an ever-looming shadow of paranoia. I felt eyes on me, felt helplessness creep into my thoughts the moment I walked through Greystone's polished doors. Trust was a rare commodity, a dangerous game to play. Then came the night following our preparation meeting, one marked by hurried breaths and frayed nerves. The moment I stepped into my apartment, my phone buzzed insistently. A message from David, a frantic yet pleading, "We need to meet. I saw something." "What do you mean?" I replied. "What happened?" "The compliance officer. He's leaving early and he has documents. This could blow the lid off everything." David's urgency spilled over the screen, igniting a surge of adrenaline. "Where?" "The parking lot. I'll be waiting." Racing against time, I threw on a jacket and dashed out, my breath hitching as anxiety coiled within me. What lay ahead could change our course irreversibly. The stakes were higher than ever. My mind spun with the weight of possibility as I made my way toward uncertainty. As I arrived at the parking lot, I found David pacing anxiously near a shadowed corner, his hunched shoulders absorbing the tension. "I don't know how much time we have," he said, surveying the area. "He's coming right now." The darkness cloaked us, but my heart thundered against the silence. The ominous feeling in the pit of my stomach multiplied. I had to brace myself. Tonight could either smear my resolve with doom or sharpen it into a weapon. The path before us stretched wide, fraught with uncertainty and potential calamity. Just as I breathed in deeply, preparing for whatever confrontation awaited, I caught a flicker of headlights. More than one set. Someone else was coming, and my stomach dropped. Had our plans been compromised? "Get ready," I whispered, my voice steadying. As the cars rolled up, I took one last look at David, who mirrored my equal blend of fear and excitement. I braced for an explosive confrontation that, in that moment, felt like it could either lead us to the truth or drag us into a world of peril I had never imagined. The darkness loomed greater as the truth danced just within reach. The revelations were about to unfold. Whether we were prepared or not, stay glued, because the crescendo is just around the corner, and you won't want to miss what happens next. In the final chapter, truths will be illuminated, and decisions will bear heavier consequences than we ever anticipated. Greystone's fate, and ours, hangs in the balance. I stood in that dimly lit parking lot, my heart racing as the headlights of multiple vehicles illuminated the shadows that swirled around us. David's nervous energy fed into my own, anticipation crackling in the air. The scene felt surreal. A reckoning was upon us, one we had painstakingly navigated through whispers and secret exchanges. As I took a deep breath, I spotted the compliance officer exiting his car, a briefcase in hand. He glanced around nervously, his body language betraying the tension I felt coursing through me. This was it. This was our chance to unearth the narrative that could dismantle the toxic machine of Greystone Corp, once and for all. "Be ready to act on cue," I whispered to David, who nodded, determination hardening his features. We had both come too far to back down now. As the compliance officer approached, we stepped out of the shadows, and he halted, eyes darting between us, confusion etched on his face. "What do you want?" he stammered, glancing nervously towards his car. "We know what you've been hiding," I said, my voice steady and unwavering. "Let's talk." His defenses went up instantly. "I don't know what you think you know, but I have nothing to say to you," he retorted, though there was an edge of fear in his tone. Suddenly, the door of the back seat swung open, and Maria emerged, her presence commanding as she moved to flank us. "That's where you're wrong. You have a lot to say. If you want to save your career," she said, her voice cool and collected. The compliance officer recoiled. I could see the realization settling in. "You shouldn't be here," he muttered, glancing at me and then at David. The pieces were all falling into place. Tension wrapped around us, thick as fog. I seized the moment, throwing down a series of documents I had gathered, emails, reports, snippets of evidence that revealed the compliance violations and misconduct surrounding Greystone. "This isn't just speculation. It's proof. You have an obligation to address this," I insisted, my heart pounding in my chest. His eyes widened as he took in the documentation. A flicker of concern crossed his face. Doubt mingled with self-preservation as he glanced nervously about. I can't say anything," he protested weakly. "The consequences of silence can be far worse than speaking up," Maria countered, her voice firm. "You're in a position to create change. Take a stand." A battle raged behind his eyes. I could feel our words cutting through his defenses, penetrating the stifling corporate loyalty that had kept him at bay. For a moment, time hung in the balance, stretched thin by a weight of almost palpable tension. Finally, he sighed, resignation washing over him. "All right," he relented, his shoulders sagging. I'll speak to HR, but I need assurance of protection." "Absolutely," I affirmed, optimism blooming in my chest. "We'll ensure you're protected. You won't be alone." The dawn of potential change broke through the night mist, but I felt a shadow lurking behind the victory. The days that followed were a blur of testimonies, meetings with HR, and the ebb and flow of corporate tension. I witnessed a transformation, a ripple effect that spread across Greystone. Others began to stand up, emboldened by our actions, turning a once hostile environment into one ripe for dialogue and renewal. Amid these changes, I felt a surge of power wash over me. The timid newcomer had become a prince in the midst of a corporate awakening. Yet with every stride forward, the remnants of fear clung stubbornly to me. I could still hear the whispers and even saw the narrow-eyed glares in the hallways. But there was a burgeoning group of supporters rallying behind me, and that sense of belonging outweighed the echoes of past insecurities. As I looked around the office on that fateful Monday morning, feeling lighter yet resolute, I grasped how our voices could not only influence the environment, but reshape the very narrative of Greystone itself. I had once been silenced, but now I stood as a beacon, a testament to the strength that comes from taking a stand and confronting an oppressive system head-on. And as for the person who ignited it all, that would always be me, the one who dared to hit reply all, unraveling the threads of silence that had bound the hearts of so many. As the camera zoomed in on my smiling face, I felt a surge of gratitude. If you've enjoyed following this journey, hear me out. The tale of standing up against injustice is just beginning, and your support can help these stories rise, inviting others to take a stand as well. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button to keep the conversation alive. I urged, my words bursting forth full of passion and resolve. And with that, we carried on, ready to uplift voices and ignite change, one story at a time. The future sparkled with possibility, and I was ready to embrace it wholeheartedly.